Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome back to Anime King 2, and I'm back with part 4 of What If Naruto Was Mahoraga Reincarnation. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, yes, I indeed have 3 channels which I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. All of the links will be down in the description, so go ahead and check out Anime King 3, Anime Symbol, guys. And I hope you enjoy each and every one of them. So without further ado or wasting any more time, how about we begin this brand new episode? Yes, begin the intro, guys. So, the last part that we left off, Naruto ability, which was adaptation, was rather insanely powerful, while most would not think of it as a standard, versatile ability. On the deeper surface, Naruto's chakra also adapted. Yes, his chakra adapted, allowing him to take into stock what he felt from when he fought Haku. Zabuza attacked Naruto with the intent to kill, but Naruto caught his blade and froze it, using the ice release, even more efficient than the own user, which practically made absolutely no sense. Naruto then attacked the man. After breaking the blade, Naruto controlled the broken frozen ice and eradicate him right there. He allowed it to fester in Zabuza's blood and freeze him from the inside out before he shattered him like glass. Making his way, Naruto saw Gato and the others arrive. Naruto created a spear from pure ice and threw it directly through Gato's head, ending the man's life. The others tried to fight, but Naruto showed them why that was a really idiotic idea, which caused them to flee for their life. The people of Wave celebrated, even naming the bridge after him, as he's made quite the spectacle. Returning back to Konoha, Hiruzen was shocked by just how much Naruto's ability has truly developed on a much grander scale than they could have ever originally thought, now possessing the ice release Keiki Genkai. However, he knew that this would soon bring some unwanted attention. Naruto started to spread the rumors that he was the one that killed Zabuza, Momochi. Not only that, they ran into an A-rank missing name from Kumo, which Naruto defeated. Everyone around the nation was gaining attraction to this name, Naruto Uzumaki, given the last name possessed many things from the past. It was being seen by many, so much so that the Raikage decided to make a bold move. Konoha was getting too powerful nowadays, and they needed to make sure that that power was limited. 4 teams were sent to Konoha. However, the main team consists of 3 members: a girl named Yujito, Samui, and Samui's brother, Atsui. Yujito was a very special person, being older than them by a couple of years, but she was just recently placed on a team to become a genin. But there were reasons for that. The other 2 were 13 years old, as they were here to participate within the exams. On the first time that they saw Naruto, they felt it as well. Yujito mostly. It was a sensation that he gave off, even without fully interacting with him. That was him, the one that everyone was talking about. They also had an interaction with the team from the sand, but Naruto did not care too much about them, nor did he really care too much about what was going on. His main focus was on the current Chunin exams, as that was going to be fun. Lee ended up challenging Naruto after hearing a lot. Many people saying that he was literally overpowered for his age. In the battle, Naruto showed the speed to outstep Lee and the strength to overpower him rather easily. Naruto would have knocked Lee's head crazy down, but Guy stepped in and ended the match. Lee was caught off guard because he did the worst thing ever, underestimating Naruto. With that, they got the first test out of the way, which wasn't easy. It was a mental manipulation, but Naruto was able to easily overcome that with them trying to trick him. They made their way into the forest as they spoke about their strategy and how they should move on from this. They came up with the idea to simply go after a team and get their scroll. Sasuke was on board because that was the most fun idea. However, Naruto could feel them being watched. He ended up saving the two of them, but in the process, he got swallowed by a snake. The snake tried to take Naruto away a far distance, but Naruto froze the thing before blowing its head clean off from the inside out. He emerged, rather pissed off as the frozen saliva and spit fell to the ground and cracked as he raced back to where Team 7 members once were. However, they had moved. It seems like they were locked in some intense battle. Arriving on the scene, Sasuke was in pain after being beaten by Orochimaru of the Sannin. Sakura told Naruto that this guy was too strong, but Naruto told her that no one was strong for him. He told her to go, which she did, after hesitating for a bit, as Naruto proceeded to take Orochimaru on. A furious battle engaged. Orochimaru underestimated Naruto at first, but when Naruto got a firm, clean hit in, he realized that this kid was no joke. However, as the battle progressed, Orochimaru felt humiliated as Naruto forced him to shed his skin. He decided to attack Naruto with intent to kill, allowing his emotions to take over because a child humiliated him, and then Naruto mocked him with his words. Orochimaru speared right through Naruto as he put him in a tree, removing one of his arms in the process. However, Naruto started to laugh as he proceeded to emerge unscathed, his wounds, his arm regenerating, showing the kind of monster he truly was. In the depths of the mindscape, the fox felt it, as the boy was controlling its power. But not only that, when Naruto looked up, half of his face was frozen and half was on fire. What Naruto did next caused everyone to look. And not everyone in the forest, but everyone. Hiruzen Sarutobi was shocked. So were the villagers and the ninjas as they all came to a complete stop to what they were seeing. So yeah guys, basically let's play left off. You guys can switch across the play check of yourself. So see you in this new episode. Hiruzen Sarutobi landed on top of the Hokage Tower. Even then, he had to look up. From the location that the Forest of Death resided in, a massive construct had rose into the heavens. The best explanation that he could give was, it was a tree without any leaf, just thorns, coming together. Half of them were blue, and the others were crimson, fire and ice, but somehow they intertangled together and combined, seeming like a trap. Hiruzen was astonished and also terrified at the construction that he was currently looking at. He wasn't the only one though, as the shadow loomed over everyone, turned around with a shocked, frightened expression written all over their face. Uncle Midarashi, who was nearby the exit, pulled back as she looked up into the heavens. What the hell? Meanwhile, in the dead center of this walking disaster was Orochimaru. His body had been impaled at least a dozen times. The Sannin was cold and burning up at the same time. Orochimaru expected an attack from Naruto, but It wasn't the attack that came. Naruto plunged his hand into the earth, releasing so much chakra that it was comparable to a tailed beast, and created this monstrosity that trapped him inside. And Naruto was now gone. The Sannin felt it as he tilted his head upwards. Bestowed in the sky like a deity, raining from the heavens was Naruto. His blade extended from his hand, and it was glowing with so much power. The Sannin could feel it from where he was, lashing out as he tried to escape, but Naruto came down and released every ounce of power that he had stored up within his blade. When it hit, the only word that could be a proper description for what was going on was catastrophic. Yes, it was catastrophic. A distance away, Yujo turned her head as she immediately told the others to get behind her now. Upon saying that, her body changed. Chakra oozed out of her. Strange blue chakra. She wasn't the only one though. Before the attack even landed, Shino, he felt the natural disaster through his bugs. He grabbed both Hinata and Kiba. What the hell? Kiba said as Akamaru was whining, feeling the destruction coming. He jumped down into the nearest creek so they could get to the lowest point away from the destruction. As Gaara saw the natural walking disaster racing towards him, he raised his hand up his siblings immediately, hunkering behind him for safety. His sand exploded out of his gort, creating a powerful shield to block them. Every single member within the forest, Neji, using his Byakugan quickly, took cover with his team. Those who were unfortunately unable to get away, their bodies were sent across the entire goddamn forest. As Sakura was walking with Sasuke, holding him to the best of her ability, given the unconscious state that he was currently in, she saw the catastrophic destruction racing towards her. The aftershock of Naruto's technique. Immediately, her eyes went wide in fear. However, Naruto knew that his team would not survive this given their close proximity. 4 Narutos arrived. Sakura looked around as they surrounded them and linked their hands together. That is when their bodies merged, literally turning into pure ice, creating a solid structure that covered Sakura and Sasuke. As she heard the violent torrent outside, hitting against it rather violently, Naruto has permanently rearranged the goddamn force of death. This large, colossal intersection that was once there, that was a flourish, fixed with trees all over, was now a gaping colossal crater that went deep down with shards of ice and broken shards of flames. It was something that most could not even understand. It was a fox chakra, as Naruto had pulled on the ice, and the flames inside of him combining them into a perfect trap for the Sannin, and then use a phenomenal amount of power to rid him from this world. However, as Naruto landed rather roughly, he cursed. Orochimaru was not dead. As Naruto sniffed, he could smell him. A far distance away, leaning up against a tree, was the Sannin. His right arm was gone. He had a huge gash in his side that was still bleeding. He had slashes and tears all over himself. He barely got away. To think that a child almost claimed his life. He's already used his technique 3 times already. He had a limit after all, and 3 was that limit. His body was now in survival mode, struggling to even heal. His arm was still bleeding, his side was still bleeding. At the moment, a capable Jonin could claim his life. The humiliation was something that the Sannin has never truly felt. And it was hard on him. A child almost took his life. This was the second time that he feared that he was going to die. The first was when Hiruzen came to greet him when he found out about what he's been doing. Knowing at the time that he wouldn't stand a chance, he thought he would die, but instead, he used his sensei's emotions against him. And in that moment, being trapped, trying to crush that ice and trying to get through that burning thorn. This was the second time in his life when he thought he was going to die. To think a child possessed power like this, and to think that a child almost claimed his life. It was humiliating. It got even worse as Kabuto landed. A snake had brought him here. Orochimaru was the one that summoned him. He wasn't in the best of condition at the moment. It was the red thorns. They were affecting him internally. He cursed to himself, looking down towards his wound. His blood seemed infected, almost like he was poisoned. Orochimaru was confused by that, as he realized that was what was stilling his regeneration, putting it to a crawl. Kabuto immediately rushed to his side to aid his master. Meanwhile, as Naruto made his way, he arrived towards a scene with blood on the ground. However, the Sannin was nowhere to be found. He had left the area, knowing that he had to go back because of his teammates. And since Orochimaru had left the forest, Naruto figured the next time they fought, he would kill him. Naruto extended his hand outwards. He pulled a kunai out and slit his own palm open. As he looked at his blood, that was now corrosive, a smile greeted his face. It was a sword that Orochimaru had cut his arm off with and impaled him with, the poison inside of it. It had threatened to kill him, but something rather phenomenal happened. His body adapted, but given the fact that the poison was still coursing through his veins, just like what happened with Haku's ice techniques, Naruto's body adapted, sinking the own poison with his very essence to prevent it from eliminating him, as he could feel it coursing through his veins. He infused it with the chakra upon creating that structure. And to think that the Sannin still got away, Naruto was impressed. If it was anyone else, even Kakashi, he had no doubt that he would die. As Naruto walked, he felt a wave of exhaustion hit him. However, his body was recovering faster than usual, even more so, adapting to his weakness. Creating the structure was hard, but maintaining it was much more harder after all. Fire and ice maintaining together, and not simply incinerating one another, was truly difficult. However, Naruto felt his stamina, recovering triple times the amount as it normally did. And that brought a smile to his face as he took off, going to find his team. Sakura was still within the ice structure, as she could not see outside. She held on to Sasuke as she was getting rather cold. Looking around, she heard something. She prepared herself as she pulled a kunai out just in case. However, it cracked open and dissolved as Naruto was standing there. She released a heavy breath of relief to see Naruto standing there. Meanwhile, that was going on. What the hell was that? Atsui said, as Samui even looked rather concerned, given her usual calm and collective demeanor. It showed that she was rather shocked and concerned. That was him, said Yujito. Wait, you mean that kid? You're joking, right? I mean, that's not possible. He's our age. And I don't mean like you in this, I mean me and Samui. Atsui said, there's no way that he can possess power to do something like that. He's a genin. She's right. This sensation, it felt so familiar. He possessed this overwhelming presence about him. It seems like he finally cut loose. So you're telling me that he did that? Afraid, Samui asks. What? Of course not, Atsui said. I'm just a bit surprised. But that doesn't change anything. Yujito was quiet as she observed the destruction that was facing her. Truly remarkable. Some would be worried or concerned, but she was impressed. Greatly so. For someone so young to be so powerful already, she was greatly impressed. Meanwhile, that was going on. Team San was experiencing the same thing as well, as they tried to understand what the hell just happened. Every single team that had been close by the tower had sent sailing away. The only teams that were still standing were a few. Luckily, the Konoha teams possessed members that alert them of the coming disaster. Shino with his bugs, and Neji with his eyes as well. Team 10 on the other hand, Choji, had saved his members by transforming into a giant ball. He spun vigorously in front of them, squashing down the resistance of the backlash, thereby protecting his teammates, making sure that they were safe. As he returned back to normal, he was exhausted and bruised up as well. Many of the large barrage of debris had slammed into him, bruising him up a bit badly. However, he was still okay to be on his feet, so that was good, and at least he saved them. As for Naruto, he placed Sasuke in a tree, a hollowed out broken tree, allowing Sakura to get some rest. The girl was exhausted. Her fight with Orochimaru did not end in her favor, and she carrying Sasuke here, she was exhausted, while Naruto was seated there, with his eyes closed, meditating as he was feeling through the forest. However, there was something that he wanted to do for some time now, as he allowed himself to be pulled, allowed himself to feel for that power. He knew that it was the power that he used when he did that on Orochimaru, but now he wanted to come face to face with that power itself. As Naruto felt his consciousness being pulled down, and he allowed it to happen. The next moment, Naruto was in a strange sewer, looking around as he heard the dripping pipes. He followed the pipes, simply going with the flow, knowing that it was a natural thing to do. When he finally arrived towards the intersection, he stepped forward into a massive domain. There was a cage, 10 plus times taller than him, as Naruto felt the overwhelming power. Deep, crimson eyes opened up, with the intent to scare him, but instead Naruto stepped forward. As he stopped a few inches away, claws jetted out and tear apart the ground in front of him. But Naruto did not blink or move away. He simply looked at the shiny claws that almost gutted him, and he smiled at them. Am I supposed to be afraid of you, Naruto asks. Remember, you're inside of my body. That meant I am in control. I felt your power for the longest time now. You've always wanted to take control by sending your power to control me, but it seems the more you send it, the more my body learn and adapt to your power, said Naruto. So in a matter of time, I will be able to control you to the fullest. Naruto heard a growl. But that is not what I desire. After all, I was born with this ability to adapt and grow my strength. Using your power is not something that's in fear to me. I'll find a way to remove this cage, and you and I will fight, said Naruto. Until then, I will never use your power ever again. When I beat you though, I will have all access, and you won't have anything bad to say about it because I defeated you. the great and powerful nine-tailed fox. And then I will be the strongest out of all of your kind, Naruto said. Don't you worry, that day will be coming very soon, Naruto said, walking away, having said his piece as he left the mindscape. The fox was actually impressed. While not said anything or show it, the beast was impressed that the boy was not only able to stand up to him without a shred of fear, but boldly proclaimed that he was going to defeat him. It's been rather boring in here, not to mention in his previous hosts. Now he was actually looking towards an entertaining battle that could lead to his freedom, as a grin stretched on the beast's face. Meanwhile, as Naruto opened his eyes, he sensed them. 3 little flies on the wall, watching him and his team. Some hours later, Sakura woke up as Naruto was still seated there, completely fine, looking refreshed despite hours passing by. She offered to make him sleep and she would watch over things, but Naruto told her that he was fine. He told her that they were being watched, which startled her for a moment, but she relaxed herself. She gazed out as she did not see anyone, but Naruto told her that they were there. He was simply making sure that she was awake, to ensure that she would be ready just in case. Well, it's not like it really mattered though. There was only 2 people here that actually pose a threat. That girl, the blonde one from Kumo, older than them and stronger than most, and that red-headed boy. Naruto could feel it from them. They were the only threats here. Not that they would win if they fought him, but still. As Naruto emerged, telling Sakura to remain inside, another team came across the rather surprising scene as well. But Naruto recognized these ones. It was none other than Team 10 as they hunkered down, seeing Naruto on his own. The sound team descended down, the 3 of them standing there as powerful as ever, not knowing that Naruto was the cause of the destruction. Luckily they had jumped into a creek and it had kept them alive. But now, they were face to face with their own death and they did not even realize. Naruto clapped his hand together. At the moment, you're in an intersection, he said to all of them. There's the option that you try to fight and die. But there is a second one. You place your scroll down and leave with your life intact. The boy on the team, Zaku, started to chuckle, finding Naruto's words rather hilarious. The other boy, his name was Dosu, most of his features covered up, narrowed his gaze though. The girl Kin remained quiet, as they all looked at Naruto, finding what he said rather hilarious. Big talk from a little punk like you. But we're not here for you. Give us the Uchiha, otherwise you will die, Zaku said. In the bushes. Should we do something? Choji said. Despite this being a test, Naruto was still a Konoha ninja and he was all alone. Shikamaru was weighing their options as he watched on. Ino, not sure what to do and wondering where Sakura was. I guess you made your choice, Naruto said. And you had as well, Zaku said. Using a surprising amount of speed for someone like him, he appeared behind Naruto and held his hand out, releasing a powerful blast that generated from the holes in his palm. It hit Naruto head on, face first, decapitated earwaves he finished, as its attack completely obliterated Naruto. Sakura was starting to emerge, her eyes widen as she clung onto her kunai ready. However, everyone was shocked when they heard laughter. The smoke and dust started to clear away, and there Naruto stood. His clothing was torn and ruffled, but he was completely fine. That's not possible, said Zaku. Naruto placed a hand on his shoulder. You should have listened, he said. As Naruto turned to face Dosu and Kin, Zaku proceeded to split into two pieces, from the shoulder to the waist, collapsing dead. As Naruto retracted the blade back in his hand, everyone was shocked and speechless to what they just saw. As Naruto appeared behind Dosu who swung his hand, Naruto stepped back for a moment, shaking his head. Something was wrong. Dosu kicked him in the chest, launching him into a tree. Kin immediately assaulted him with needles, trying to paralyze him. However, Naruto burst through them and went after Dosu, who ducked and swung his arm once again. Naruto was off balance as Dosu kneed him in the face and slammed a fist in his gut before uppercutting him. Dosu flipped and delivered a brutal sideways kick to Naruto's face as Naruto crashed on the ground hard, unmoving. Naruto got to his feet though. Dosu reached him in seconds as he slammed his hand on Naruto's stomach. And just like that, it's over, Dosu said, as he flicked the own gauntlet on his hand with his finger, releasing a sound wave that generated through Naruto's body. However, Naruto did not fall, he simply stood there. His hands then lashed out and grabbed both of Dosu's arms with the gauntlet on it. I understand it now, said Naruto. No, that's impossible, said Dosu. How are you still standing? I was wondering why I felt so confused and so out of touch. You messed with my hearing, Naruto said. Dosu noticed that the shape of Naruto's ears had changed. They look almost the same, but it was the inner earlobe. His attack mainly focused on the person's hearing, and with that, he disrupted their whole sense of balance. A constant blast of energy and air, eradicating through your hearing, knocking your equilibrium off. However, Naruto's eyes did a full rotation, allowing him to adapt, and that would not work once again. Dosu started to scream as Naruto started to apply pressure. He did not stop until his arms ripped through the gauntlet and crushed the bones in Dosu's arms. Kin, realizing that this was not something that she would survive if she stayed, she ran. She took off, running for her life. Dosu swung his head forward as he slammed it in Naruto's forehead, trying to make him release him, but the one that felt pain was Dosu. As Naruto kept on holding until he started to pull. Naruto pulled Dosu's arms outwards. Dosu kicked, but it did not matter as Naruto smiled. With more pressure, there was a tearing sound as Team 10 members looked in utter shock. Sakura had to look away as Naruto ripped Dosu's arms out of the sockets, causing him to collapse on the ground, a bloody mess. Naruto lifted him up by the throat and reached into his pouch and pulled out the scroll. I told you, said Naruto as he threw Dosu into a tree, leaving him for dead. However, at that moment, as Sakura stood there with a shocked look, she felt an ominous feeling. Sasuke walked past her and she did not even notice, as she was overwhelmed being so close to him. Her entire body was trembling as Sasuke emerged with a new look, flame patterns all over him, his body covered and oozing a strange purple aura. He seemed so happy, so refreshed, as he kept on smiling to himself. He looked at Naruto, wanting to test his power. He stepped forward. What did the Sannin do to you, said Naruto. He made me better, Sasuke said. I've just reached the pinnacle of this power. Just the firm edge. I would like to see what it entails. You want to fight me now, said Naruto. Sasuke's smile showed that he was not exactly in control as he rushed at Naruto without warning. The first attack, Naruto dodged. The second, Naruto blocked. The third, Naruto countered. Sasuke vanished. His speed had drastically increased as he kicked Naruto in the back. However, Naruto barely moved. He reached around and grabbed Sasuke's leg and twirled him before throwing him to a tree as Sasuke flipped and landed on it. Blurring through hand signs, Sasuke released a massive fireball. However, Naruto jumped through the flames and slammed his fist in Sasuke's face. He did not allow him to fly as he grabbed his leg and slammed Sasuke into the ground. Sasuke was knocked out cold, the mark being unstable. It knocked his mind down. Sakura came out, checking on Sasuke as the mark had receded. He was simply unconscious. With that said, the both of them stood there waiting. Sasuke finally woke up, with no recollection of what he did. They decided to head to the tower. Team 10 having moved on, realizing that their help was not needed here. Sasuke was rather shocked at the scene that he had woken up to, seeing the dead Zaku that was split in half. However, all Naruto said was, he posed a threat. Upon getting there, they had to show their scroll, as they were allowed to enter. They were early, so they had a lot of time left before the exam truly began to the next phase. However, they weren't the first one. The first team that made it there was the Kumo team, then the Sand team, and now they were the third team to arrive there. They had to spend the remainder of time waiting, as Naruto chose to take stock of their buffet that they had there. Sakura had never seen Naruto cut someone in half. She had seen him eviscerate someone before, but not cut them in half. However, it didn't affect her like she thought that it would. Perhaps she was used to Naruto doing violent things in the face of protecting them. She was worried though about Sasuke's mark. Sasuke was telling her that he was fine, that everything was fine and she should simply forget about it. The days flew by rather quickly. When said day arrived, everyone was gathered. Because of Naruto's latest stunt, the numbers were extremely low. Upon Naruto telling Kakashi, who he had saw before the exam began, that he faced Orochimaru in the forest, Kakashi immediately relayed this information back to the Hokage. Orochimaru had fled, as Team 7 was the only team that came across him after all. So that was said, and about Sasuke mark as well. Here is a debate on removing Sasuke from the exams entirely, but knowing that would be a big hindrance to the people that came to see the last Uchiha. However, this had to be handled very carefully if Sasuke could not go through the exams properly, especially in this stage. They didn't have time to seal off the mark, not to mention the effects that it would put on Sasuke's form. So he had to go through the exams as the way he was. They were all told to go up to the podium to watch as the members participate. Kabuto Yakushi, one of the other Konoha teams that survived, gave up when anyone was asked if they wanted to leave. It was one of his members that Sasuke faced. The guy was able to steal another user's chakra. However, Sasuke used brute force, a brutal combo that knocked his ass out. With that, Sasuke was taken by Kakashi as the other matches took place. Naruto found majority of them ridiculously boring. Sakura ended up knocking out Ino and getting knocked out as well. Naruto supposed that was better than her, flat out losing. The name Yujito popped up, as her opponent was going to be Kiba Inuzaka, making his way down there as confident as he possibly can. Kiba believed that he had this in the bag. She was a girl after all. She couldn't be that strong. Don't worry, he said. I won't take it too hard on you. A smile graced her features. Why, thank you, she said. It seems like Kiba didn't understand sarcasm, as he felt good that he was going to prove the kind of person he was by not humiliating her. Oh, he's screwed, Atsubi said, as Samui agreed with a nod. The moment the match began, Kiba felt pain in his stomach. The Jonins were rather surprised. It was her speed. It was immaculate. Kurunai realized that this girl was far from your average genin. She punched Kiba in the gut, lifting him off his feet. Not even Orochimaru could react. She provided a skill of flexibility that no one has shown so far, as she was able to leap above him. She knocked Kiba around in mid-air like he was a toy. Her being not big fan of dogs was also a part of this as well. As she sent Kiba to the ground, but before he could hit it, she arrived and kneed him in the stomach. Before she spun on her heel and delivered a brutal combo that left him on the wall, broken, and unconscious as well. Orochimaru whining by his master's side, running away from Yujo. There wasn't even a scratch on her, and Kiba was eviscerated as he was brought to the infirmary, calmly making her way up, showing that the Kumo ninjas had more than they originally thought. The next was Temari and Tenten. Temari demolished Tenten, even going as far to cause her further pain by allowing her to fall on her fan. Something Lee wasn't a big fan of, but Guy told him to calm down. The next match was between actual family members. Neji proved to be violent as he assaulted Hinata. Her trying to go through with it, her trying to be someone that she could be proud of, proved to be the negative thing in this, as Neji almost tried to kill her, but he was stopped by the Jonins though. Hinata collapsed as she was rushed off. Guy was disappointed in his student for taking it that far, but Neji did not seem to care in the slightest. Naruto gazed towards the Hyuga. Perhaps not everyone else here was a waste of time than the other two. Naruto's name was finally summoned on the board, which brought a smile to his face. Atsui. Who the hell is that? Naruto wondered as he made his way down. It seemed like fate wants to humiliate you, said Samui. Gazing at her brother, Atsui's eye twitched. Of all the people. He swallowed his nerves though as he turned towards her. Don't you worry, sis, he said. I have this one in the bag. Yujo looked towards him. Do not underestimate him. I know you like to joke around, but this is not a match to joke around in. Don't worry, I'll make this match as hot as possible, he said, making his way down there. As Naruto leaped off the railing and crash landed. His feet hitting the ground so hard you heard the very stone underneath him crack. Atsui blinked. Wondering if I'm underestimating him too much. As both of them stepped up, Hayate asked them if they were ready. The moment the go-ahead was given, Atsui jumped away, blurring through hand sign before launching a fireball towards Naruto, his nature being fire. However, that was just a distraction as he arrived behind Naruto, having run around as he drew his blade. He swung towards Naruto's back to take him out in the first moment of the match. Samui was watching her brother carefully as Atsui jumped away. His face was covered in sweat, his hands trembling slightly. Everyone was confused. Well, mostly some of the Genins. The Jonins saw it though. He's fast. Faster than I originally thought, Guy thought to himself, as Atsui's blade broke in half. Naruto had split it, with the blade now coming from his wrist, and he had enough time to step away from the fireball. As he stood there, "You're fast," said Naruto. "Faster than most of the others here. But I suppose you're just not fast enough." "Listen here, you big shot," Atsui said. "You might think that you're the stronger between us, but that is incorrect. Because the one that will be winning this today is me. Because if you think I need a blade to win you, He threw it to the side as he blazed through hand sign. Fire style. Crimson rain, he said. He fired a ball of flame into the air before it split into multiple pieces and rained down towards Naruto. Naruto jumped and twisted out of the way as he slashed one of them, his eyes slowly rotating as he hit the fire more and more. The blade on his hand started to literally dissipate the fire like it was nothing. Yujo narrowed her eyes carefully. How is he doing that, she said. He wasn't just attacking the fires like normal, he was destroying them. Naruto retracted the blade as he moved. Atsui realized he was coming in close as he weaved. Having done a lot of extended training with Yujo because of her close combat fighting skills, he believed that he had the speed to outplay Naruto. He simply had to wait until he was top. His thoughts were cut. The first hit that slapped across his face dazzled him. He stepped back. He raised his hands, but Naruto bypassed his defense and punched him so hard he felt like his entire guts were being rearranged. He spat up blood over Naruto as he leaned against his shoulder. What the hell, he said, unable to truly fathom the amount of pain that he was going through. Naruto pushed him back before stepping into his guard. Naruto's fists were moving so fast, they seemed like they were blurs. He felt one attack, only one. But the problem was Naruto hit him 10 times. His body was thrown as he slammed into the statue that was there. He crashed on the ground, a few pieces of rubble falling on top of him. He was out like a light. Naruto turned his back, knowing that there was no way he would get up after that, and he was correct. He was declared the winner. Samui remaining calm as her gaze focused on Naruto. She gazed towards Yujo. The both of them share a knowing look. As Atsui was taken to the infirmary, he was going to be fine, but his pride was crushed, and he was in agonizing pain, and he might have a couple of broken bones. Naruto was astonished by his strength. He was getting more and more stronger the stronger opponents that he fought. He turned his gaze as his eyes matched with Yujo. There was a smirk on Naruto's face as she simply watched him. His gaze then turned towards Gaara. The bloodlust from Gaara could be felt by the both of them. The three of their eyes connected at once, realizing just who were the biggest threats here. Gaara proved to be a monster as he demolished Lee. Samui went up against Choji, who stood no chance at all. As the matches came to a winding down, everyone was chosen to pick numbers. Kakashi arrived just in time and chose for Sasuke. The first match was Shikamaru versus Temari. He had defeated the final member on Kabuta's team, using his brain to overpower him. The second match was Samui versus Shino. The third match was Naruto versus Yujo. The fourth match was Sasuke versus Gaara. As the finals were being set, Naruto was ignoring everything else as he focused towards his opponent. The one that he was actually looking forward to fight was right there for the taking, and he could not wait, as Kankuro would be the standing by member for the next round. They were all given 1 month to train to be prepared for the original finals. Hiruzen summoned Naruto after the exams came to an end to speak to him about his encounter with Orochimaru, wanting to know everything that happened, and Naruto did tell him everything, that he made the Sannin run like the little coward he was. Hiruzen did not doubt Naruto's words because Naruto had no reason to lie. However, he knew Orochimaru more than anyone else. The Sannin was a very vengeful person, and the fact that someone like Naruto, a child, humiliate him in such a way. Orochimaru would not let something like this slide so easily. And Hiruzen was concerned for Naruto's safety regarding that. Yes, he very much was. However, there was someone that returned back to the village that had a vast interest in training Naruto, having been distant for so long. Before they would meet though, Hiruzen spoke to said individual about everything that Naruto was pretty much aware, but he never followed up on it, so he had to be careful. Time skip. Naruto was insulted as Kakashi found him a sensei that would teach him for the time being while he focused on Sasuke. Ebisu. Naruto pretty much ignored the man and told him to go and screw off, as he needed absolutely nothing from him. Ebisu was not worth his time. And to think Kakashi believed that he would be the best person to teach him, as Naruto mainly ignored him. However, someone has been following him, as a person seemed to be trying to test him to see if he would be able to figure out that they were there. Curious, having not much to do because Naruto has put his training on the back burner for now, focusing on something that did not require that much physical exertion. He found the person at the hot springs. Hiruzen was cryptic about someone being there as well, so it now made sense to him why he said that. Arriving though, Naruto looked around until he heard the giggling, as he found a man peeping over the lady's side. Pretty much finding this hilarious, Naruto cut through the branch, causing the man to fall over. The ladies all saw him and deliver a brutal beating to him before throwing him out. The man came out furious as Naruto was laughing. "Brat," he said, "you're the one that did this, weren't you?" he said. "Of course I did," said Naruto. "I figure they were justified in beating the living snot out of you, given that you were spying on them." "Do you have any idea who I am?" "No. And why should I care?" Jiraiya decided to go into a full introduction, but by the time he was finished, Naruto was long gone, as the Sannin run to catch up with the boy. "Hey, brat," he said, "do you have any idea how much people would kill to have a chance to talk to me?" "Well, I guess I'm not like most people," Naruto said. The Sannin kept on following him, trying to speak to him. "So you're the one that has been following me," said Naruto. "I have no idea what you're talking about," Jiraiya said. "You know, I'm a pretty good censor, and I know that you're the one that has been following me." And now the old man's speech makes sense. Why would he choose you to help me in my endeavor, given that I ditched my lame practical sensei for the time being? What do you have to offer? Jiraiya looked rather astonished. "You know, this is supposed to be the other way around. There would be people lining up if I were to offer to be their sensei, and you, despite me have not offering you anything, is being so blatantly disrespectful. Well, I can't have too much respect for a man that's peep on ladies. I mean, you're supposed to be this pinnacle of being a ninja, right? So-called Sannin, and yet you seem to be nothing but a perv." "I know, perv is sage." Jiraiya was ticked off at the name. "But I suppose you're better than that slimy bastard I almost killed." Jiraiya got a bit serious. "Don't tell me that you care for your former comrade, because that would make you a traitor. Now, do you?" said Naruto. "Of course not," Jiraiya said. "But I heard about your encounter. Tell me, how did a little pipsqueak like you make someone like Orochimaru run away?" "Would you like to see for yourself?" said Naruto. "Sure," the Sannin said. Naruto did not hesitate to attack him vigorously. As Jiraiya fought Naruto, Naruto got a clean punch in that knocked him back. It seems like Sensei was right, Jiraiya thought. The longer they fought, the more Naruto understood his movements. Despite him changing it up during their battle, his ability to adapt was truly impressive. Jiraiya would also like to know about the Nine Tails, and about that structure that he created. Having nothing much better to do, Naruto figured that he would amuse the man. So they did end up speaking, and Jiraiya offered to be his sensei. As Naruto thought about it, which pissed Jiraiya off given that he was given the child a gem amongst gems to teach him, and yet he didn't seem to want it. However, Naruto has been working on something as stated earlier. He figured that he needed a fresh pair of eyes. Perhaps the man would give him the insight that he needed to understand what he was trying to accomplish. "Shoot, give it to me," said Jiraiya, as he figured that he could help the kid out with his problem. And what Naruto told the Sannin truly astonished him. As the days passed by, Naruto had to say, the Sannin wasn't exactly bad company, not to mention, he has helped him with what he's been working on. As Naruto had found out something that would help him severely more in the future, something that ties into his ability to adapt. And it was coming along great, not to mention they still had time as well. His opponent in the finals was a strong one, there was no doubt about that. She was perhaps the only girl in the exams that Naruto saw as someone that could actually fight. Despite there being others like Temari and Sakura, Tenten, and Ino, Naruto did not see them as anything that would put up much of a fight. However, this girl, she was from another village as well. That meant, once he demolished her in their battle, it would show that he was the strongest of their generation. But not just their generation, because he was going to make a testimony on that day to show that he was the strongest out of all of them. Jiraiya was calmly watching Naruto proclaim that he was going to be the strongest in the entire elemental nation. And he had to say, some people would say this and you would think that they were crazy, but it was just the way that the kid went about handling himself. It made you want to believe that what he was saying was truthful, not to mention, with his body being able to adapt and constantly growing in strength. Jiraiya did not doubt that would take much longer. So with that, 2 weeks passed by. Unaware to Naruto and the Sannin, someone was plotting Naruto's death. Well, more than one people, but one was mostly focused on his death right now. Orochimaru had felt humiliated. However, it wasn't just humiliation alone. The exam, the finals, he needed the one tail to cause as much collateral damage as possible. It was the trigger, the ace in the hole, while he took out Hiruzen. The problem was, Gaara was unstable and he would go after Naruto. And Naruto was a man that did not turn down a battle. Kabuto has been watching Naruto, learning about his tactics, learning what he did, learning his personality, going back into files from he was younger, bullying most of the kids. The bullies became his prey. So there was a good chance that Gaara would not even get to transform. Orochimaru could not allow that, and given the fact that Naruto almost killed him, one of the greatest humiliation that he doubted that he could ever outlive easily, he had to make sure that the kid was not going to be a problem. This was his one and only chance to finally achieve his goal of bringing Konoha down. And he wasn't about to let that slip through his goddamn fingers because of some wet behind the ears brat who just seemed to be significantly more powerful than most other people his age. That is why Orochimaru was going to make sure that he never made it there. He wasn't going to make it to the exams. Not at all. At the moment, Naruto was making his way after another long day. While what he was doing was not exactly exhausting that much, it was a lot mentally. There was another problem as well. Jiraiya wanted Naruto to sign the Toad Summoning contract. However, Naruto refused, something that shocked the Sannin. Naruto found Toads to be weak. They were not fit with the type of fighting that he did. Jiraiya had spent the last few hours trying to convince Naruto, but Naruto refused. However, Jiraiya believed that he could convince Naruto with the 2 weeks that they had remaining, but he shouldn't really hold his breath. There were two things. Toads did not fit him and they were weak, and the second thing was, Naruto had already told the fox that he would use his own strength. It shows that he did not like to rely on other people's power, just the one that he was naturally born with. So he wasn't about to beg for Toad's assistance, an animal that he already saw as not fitting for his style. Naruto opened his door as he made his way inside. As usual, his apartment was immaculate. Given the kind of person that he was, you would think that everything would be all over the place, but no, the place was really clean and put together. However, something was off. Someone has been here, Naruto thought. They tried to use a different approach. It was their scent. They tried to cover it up, but Naruto knew that someone has been here. Stepping inside, Naruto made his way, wondering who the hell it was. It was currently nighttime within the Hidden Lake village. As he looked around, he hated people going through his things, going through his goddamn apartment without his permission. As Naruto looked around drastically trying to find something that would indicate him to who the hell has been in here. That is when his hearing picked up on something. Outside of the apartment a distance away, someone stood in the shadows as they finished their hand sign. Suddenly, boom! Every single ninja and citizens were awoken by the explosions, those that were sleeping. As the entire apartment building erupted in a violent, colossal explosion, swallowing Naruto on the inside. But guys, be in subscribe right here. If you want to see next part and do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.